Holy shit.
What is it?
A mother lode.
Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to give you my spoiler-free impressions of the Expanse Season 6. I don't usually do videos like this, and I don't normally watch too far ahead when I have screeners for a show, but I started this, and even with taking notes and reading the 9th book, Leviathan Falls, I still ended up getting through it in a few days, and they did send out all 6 episodes, so here we are. And there's a lot of good to talk about here, and I can do that in a pretty spoiler-free way. I'm definitely not going to spoil any major plot points, so unless you just don't want to know anything, you should be able to watch this video. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. I suppose the main question you have if you're here is it a good ending? And I think the answer to that is yes. Given the situation that this is the last season that Amazon Prime Video is making, I think it does a solid job of wrapping up the story where it is. And it leaves things open for a future adaptation. There's still 3 more books to go. My quick, spoiler-free review of Leviathan Falls is they did stick the landing, and I hope that we'll one day be able to see it, but there's a lot to like in this 6th season of the show. There are some really memorable character moments. I won't get into any specifics, but Holden, Naomi, and Amos all had at least one scene that hit harder than it had a right to. Some of the changes they made to the story helped to set some of these up, which means they're not necessarily things that people who read the books are waiting for, which is a nice bonus. Drummer has a scene that probably takes the cake in this category for me, but whoever your favorite character is, they probably have a spotlight moment. It does feel like a final season in that regard. There are some really good callbacks, and some characters from prior seasons pop back up. There was at least one that was kind of obscure and put a smile on my face because I wasn't expecting it. That happens in the premiere, and I think you'll know the character from season 1 I'm talking about when you see it. Not to create unrealistic expectations here, though, there are definitely some that are missing and are missed as far as how the book played out. There are a handful of point of view characters from the book that aren't even mentioned or hinted at on the show. Another plus is that there is a lot of high quality space porn, and not just battles, but there are those too. But there's just a lot of stuff that really looks authentic here, and they spend a lot of time in the Rocinante, and it feels like we see more of that than we ever did in the past. There's one scene in the premiere where Amos goes outside for some maintenance, and it's just leagues ahead of anything they did in those first few seasons. It's not flashy or impressive other than it just looks like Wes Chatham is actually in a spacesuit, in space, walking on the outside of a spaceship to do a job. And it's the way that they track him and how it's set up perfectly. It just allows them to flex their muscles and show how good they've got at all of this over the years. There's another thing later in the season where with a lesser show you might think, oh, now you're just showing off, but the whole thing makes sense, and it's a cool sequence that feels like it was spawned from writers who know what their VFX crew is capable of. The visual effects also have pretty consistently improved season after season, and there are some real set pieces here to look forward to. As I said, the crew are in the Rossi for most of the season, and there are some battles going on, which they always do pretty well, but I don't think it's as wall-to-wall as some fans might have been hoping. I think realistically it's on par with about how much we saw in season 5, except there is one really big and crazy season-defining sequence, which didn't really disappoint. Book readers will likely know what I'm referring to here, and it doesn't play out exactly the same, but they managed to add a little more intensity with some of the changes they made. And overall, most of the changes in the season worked that way, but they also did cut out a lot, which makes me wonder how easy it will be to follow for non-book readers. And that brings up some of the criticisms I have. It is super short. There's just no getting around it. It's mostly paced well, as in it's in good hands as far as streamlining things without dropping important character stuff, but it's still less than 5 hours total, and it goes by fast with 45-minute episodes. Plus, I love that they added strange dogs, and I think it works well alongside with what's happening in Saul, but that takes up a handful of minutes in a cold open in every single episode. Another thing is that you can tell this season is different because of COVID. It's subtle, but you can tell that they were restricted in some ways. I can't say for sure, but it seems possible that this has something to do with which characters they brought back and which ones they didn't. There are at least a few characters who I expected to be involved that are barely mentioned, if at all. It just feels like they couldn't get them back under these conditions. And there are some brand new characters, which is where I think the shortness really makes a difference. The casting and the performances are good, but if you're not really paying attention to the dialogue, you might find yourself later thinking like, why is this person here? There's just not enough time to develop them, and there are other decisions they made that seem to be a result of some combination of these two things. So there are some issues. I should mention that the showrunner said at the New York City Comic-Con that there would be additional shorts in the X-ray extras between each episode. I haven't seen those, and they could fill in some of the details that feel light in these episodes. Apparently, there's going to be mini episodes between the episodes. There was one sequence that I was really looking forward to seeing from the books that I didn't think translated that well to the show. It was still good, but I didn't think it had the same tension, and I'm not sure it would come off as impressive if you hadn't read the books. But they did add some interesting stuff. I was caught by surprise at a couple of points, and they definitely played around with the idea that they could kill someone off. I won't confirm if they did or not, but there was at least one time when I was yelling at the screen because I was convinced it was a setup to end the character. Overall, I think they made it work. There's a nice balance between the big stuff that's going on in space and the intimate moments that happen on the ship in between the characters. And in some ways, it doesn't feel like the ending we want, as far as we know there's more there, but they made the end that we get count. And I think that's a good place to leave things. I'm going to be breaking down every episode as they come out, so I really don't need to say much more here. It's fast, but it's not Game of Thrones Season 8. I can guarantee that. To be fair, though, it does have a much shorter runtime than that. I've seen some things that I always wanted to see on screen, and I'm pretty happy about it. So let me know what you're hoping to see and how you think things are going to play out. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure you check out my series recap for everything you need to remember for Season 6. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.